In the East Bay, maybe a little bit warmer than in San Francisco. If you go further inland, it's going to get even hotter. Let's check back in with meteorologist Zoe Mintz.
Yes, the coastal communities are still being impacted by that marine layer. That fog continues to hold on strong, at least in the really high elevations and off the coast. But in the Bay Bridge and the Bay areas, that's when things have begun to lift and the heat will begin to turn on. But I have a really fun time lapse that I have to show everybody because it was a gorgeous start to our morning. The fog rolling in across basically the entirety of San Francisco. And the cool thing is, look at the fog spilling over the Marin headlands. It's so cool. It kind of pooled up and then began to dissipate, and look, you can now see the Presidio, and that fog continues to stream, very thick fog at that, through the Golden Gate Bridge, and we'll see it most likely continue throughout our afternoon hours. Well, the rest of the West Coast is dealing with excessive heat, with warnings all across California, Arizona, up to Nevada, as we are going to be dealing with more near to record-breaking heat. But for the Bay Area, not necessarily record-breaking, doesn't mean it's not going to be hot, but the areas in pink, these are likely going to be getting well above 100 degrees. The areas in orange are still going to be hot, but they're not likely going to get to the triple digits, upper 80s to upper 90s. But for this time of year and for these areas that aren't used to this kind of heat, that is going to be a big issue over the next 24 to 48 hours, as we are looking today being the peak of the heat wave, as we are seeing much higher heat-related illness for our inlandmost communities. But look at the areas in yellow, San Francisco down to Half Moon Bay, Pacifica. We don't have a high heat risk for illness because it is going to be a lot cooler along the coast, and those yellows continue to push inland by tomorrow, even though our further inland areas do still have those hot temperatures sticking around. But there's good news. We have an end in sight as this area of high pressure begins to shift off to the east. An area of low pressure pushes closer to the coast, brings us more clouds, and brings us much cooler and more comfortable temperatures. So let's take a look at our temperatures this afternoon and show you how it's influenced by the wind, because it's actually really cool to see. The North Bay communities temperatures in the upper 90s to low triple digits. Look at how low and how calm the winds are out there. They're a lot higher across the coast, but Nevada, it's a very low and very light circulation. And the same story can be told in places like our inland East Bay communities over near Concord, Antioch, on the other side of the mountains. Look at our wind barbs. Look at how the wind is barely even blowing. It is just circulating around. It is keeping that heat in place. So that is something that you have to keep in mind today. It is going to be a very, very hot one. But over the next 7 days, we have really, really good news in store. The end of the heat wave is in sight, especially for our inlandmost communities that today and tomorrow are going to be in the triple digits. 80s return by as soon as Sunday and into early next week.